Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. We have a highly requested topic today. Learning about the best day to try for the highest chance of getting pregnant. In general, prime baby making time is when you see fertile cervical mucus, which should be at least 2 days of your cycle and a max of 7 days out of your cycle. Ideally, you want sperm to be waiting for ovulation, and healthy sperm can live for up to 5 days in healthy, fertile cervical mucus. But the highest chance of conception is when intimacy is happening the day before ovulation, which should be the same day of the most abundant fertile cervical mucus. If finding this day stresses you out, don't worry. We're going to talk all about tracking cervical mucus so you can pinpoint it, but also know that chances of conception are still very high during the 3 days leading up to ovulation, as long as cervical mucus is present. Okay. And I should also say, like, the day of ovulation is going to be a good day to try too. But women ovulate on different times of day, and sometimes intimacy can be hard to plan around just that one day. So giving yourself a little bit of grace in thinking about leading up to ovulation and being intimate in that time frame can be a lot more or a lot less stressful, which is what we want when we are trying to support fertility and get pregnant. You may have heard that you should do the baby dance every other day, but the only evidence-based reason to do it every other day and try every other day in your fertile window is if sperm health is poor. Okay. This is one of many reasons to know what is going on with sperm. Please check out episode 6 to learn much more about sperm quality and what healthy sperm quality actually looks like. Speaking of sperm, it is important to know that abstaining too long actually contributes to higher sperm damage as well. Ideally, intimacy is happening every 5 or fewer days for men in order for them to have the best quality sperm racing to the egg when you are trying. Having abundant, healthy sperm depends on your fella being an active participant in preconception care. Okay, so tune into episode 6 to learn much more about what that means and what that healthy sperm looks like. This also doesn't mean you have to do the baby dance every day either. The goal is to have sperm waiting for ovulation to happen in order to have that highest chance. And this is really fertile cervical mucus, which is going to alert you to ovulation approaching, which is why prime baby making time is when you see that fertile cervical mucus. But again, the highest chance of conception is the day before ovulation when cervical mucus is present. All right. So if you are an OPK girly, you like those ovulation predictor kits, which are the sticks that you pee on to see what's happening with LH, please know that it is surprisingly common to miss this peak trying day when basing timing on ovulation predictor kits alone. Okay, because ovulation might not happen for like a couple of days after that peak rise for some women. If you are into ovulation predictor kits, these can help you predict when ovulation is coming, but if you aren't seeing fertile cervical mucus, it can be challenging for conception to be successful. So if cervical mucus is something you should absolutely be tracking. But if you aren't seeing fertile cervical mucus, it can be challenging for conception to be successful. So, cervical mucus is something you should absolutely be tracking in order to hit the best day to try. Okay. It can also help you confirm that ovulation is actually happening, which OPKs cannot do. They can only predict. Okay, so let's talk more about cervical mucus. Cervical mucus is actually pretty fascinating, if you ask me. It has channels that allow the sperm to swim. It keeps sperm alive, healthy sperm alive for up to 5 days, which is key because we want that sperm waiting for that queen bee egg to be released, which is ovulation. It actually filters out defective sperm. It prepares sperm for fertilization. And it even transports the best sperm to the egg when ovulation occurs. If you're new to cervical mucus tracking, I have a few tips for you. First, fold the toilet paper flat, wipe front to back across your perineum, which is that stretch of skin between your vagina and your anus, and pay attention to how that feels. Does it feel slippery? Then you've got fertile cervical mucus. If it does, it might feel sticky or dry. Those are not that peak fertile cervical mucus. You were looking for the slippery to know that it's go time for intimacy. And then look at that toilet paper. So you're seeing how that sensation feels, and then you're looking at that toilet paper. What do you see? Is it clear cervical mucus? If it feels slippery, it looks clear, or it might look stretchy, kind of egg white type, then you're fertile. You are in your peak fertile window. Okay. Basically, we want to be doing this with every time we go to the restroom, checking for cervical mucus. And you don't have to see this fertile type of cervical mucus or feel that slippery sensation every time in a day. But if you feel it even once during the day, then you are it is a fertile day. You're in your fertile window. Okay. Overall, wet days are fertile and dry days are not, but that optimal peak fertile mucus looks like raw egg white and is clear and stretchy. Okay, it feels slippery, it looks clear, it might be stretchy. Observation of cervical mucus patterns is the best way to time intimacy for conception, with ovulation happening on the last day of fertile cervical mucus about 80% of the time. Cervical mucus patterns can show signs of hormone imbalance and even give you insight where additional nutrition or lifestyle changes might be necessary. If you're having limited or no mucus, this can indicate an issue with the cervix or with hormone production or even other issues. An example of a cervical mucus pattern in a healthy cycle should be going from sticky or creamy to egg white, which is like slippery and clear, and then back to creamy or sticky. So that shift from that peak fertile, which is that clear, slippery type, to creamy or sticky is alerting you that ovulation happened. Pretty cool, right? Not everyone has the stretchy egg white, and that's okay. Slippery and clear is still peak fertile mucus that preps sperm and helps that sperm get to the egg. And again, ovulation happens on the last day of fertile cervical mucus about 80% of the time. So it's a great way to time intimacy when trying to conceive. If you aren't seeing fertile cervical mucus or you feel like it's not very optimal as far as the type of cervical mucus you're seeing, here are a few things that might be interfering. So, a recent history of or even current use of birth control. When we turn off our hormones, we aren't going to see fertile cervical mucus because we're not producing the hormones that are involved in this production. Okay, and it is common for no mucus to be present for a couple of months after or a couple of cycles after stopping birth control as well. And this can vary depending on the length of time that you have been on hormonal contraceptive. Okay, fertility drugs going to dry up that cervical mucus. Nutrition, especially inadequate cholesterol, low fat, limiting or low intake of vitamin A and B vitamins like folate are also going to change that cervical mucus pattern. Endocrine issues like thyroid imbalance or HPA Access communication barriers can also interfere with what's happening with cervical mucus, and antihistamines also going to dry up mucus, not only in your nose and your throat, but also your cervical mucus too. Okay, so diet and lifestyle should be the main prescriptions when trying to get cervical mucus to be more optimal. Okay, medications will only mask the actual problem, right? A few tips for dealing with some of these barriers and improving the cervical mucus. First and foremost, hydrate. Cervical mucus is mostly water, okay? Water and electrolytes are important for hydration. So aim to drink half of your body weight in pounds. So take your body weight in pounds and divide it in half. That's how much you want to be drinking in ounces each day, while including your electrolytes, which are your potassium, sodium, magnesium, ideally food forms of these. So not just the supplementation forms. We want to think about real high quality salt, like our sea salt, or Redmond's real salt is an excellent option as well. Potassium, we're thinking about our bananas and our potatoes and our winter squash is some high ones. Coconut water is a great option here too, and coconut products as a whole. And then magnesium, we're thinking about things like cacao powder, leafy greens, plant foods. Really, if it's grown in the ground, it's going to have some magnesium. Avocado is going to be another good rich one. And supplementation obviously plays a role too. We just want to also be focusing on a lot of those whole foods. Gut health is another really important area to think about. Support a happy gut by eating 30 or more grams of fiber daily. Work up to this slowly while increasing your hydration. This is helpful for cervical mucus production as well. We want to make sure that we're getting a lot of nutrients in to support cervical mucus. Nutrition supports cervical mucus by giving us the vitamins and minerals that are involved in hormone changes and the actual cervical mucus production. So focus on nutrient dense foods like animal proteins, healthy fats, fatty fish, and colorful produce to start. Think about hormone balance too. So happy hormones support healthy cervical mucus. So stress, adapting to stress and improving sleep quality can be complete game changers for what's happening with cervical mucus production. If you're wondering what it means to adapt to stress better, check out episode 23 with my top tips for adapting to stress for fertility. Okay, and you don't have to figure it all out on your own. If you're ready to dig deeper and start working with your body to support fertility, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.